In this video, we're going to show you how we strip and refinish this bar top, and we're getting started right now. Typically when it comes to refinishing, a lot of times you'll find that you use some kind of a stripping paint and varnish stripper or something along those lines. We really like this Citrus Strip gel. One of the reasons that we like this, if you're ever stripping things, the fumes and stuff are not bad on this. Now it is kind of messy, I will for sure say that, but honestly it smells like an orange creamsicle most of the time. So it's safe to use indoors. It's one of our favorite options when it comes to this, but we're not using this today. I just wanted to kind of point that out. Okay, so this is future Jeremy. Just ignore what I'm saying right now because I don't know what I'm talking about. We're gonna have to use the stripping gel. And the reason that we're not using that is just simply because honestly, this has had so much weather on it that there's not a lot of finish left on it. So I don't think it's going to be too hard to sand this off. And so today, we're just going to sand it. No, we're going to have to strip it. When it comes to stripping something outdoors, especially if it's something that's stationary, one of the first things you got to think about is just the elements and the weather. So we had to kind of look at it and say, okay, we got several days here where we're going to have nice sunny weather. I'm not going to have to fight with rain or anything like that because I'm going to be putting several coats on, and these coats, because of what we're putting on this, it takes quite a while for it to dry. The other thing that we had to think about was that we've got to mow. So it is time for us to mow our grass. So we need to do that first. So that's the first step we're going to do, is mow our grass. And then once we do that, we're going to pray that our neighbors don't mow their grass in the process so that we don't end up with it in the finish. So hopefully this all works out. Okay, so yard is mowed. Now we're going to switch to sanding. Okay, so it's gumming the sandpaper up quite a bit, so I think we're going to punt and we're going to switch to the stripping gel and see if that helps any. See, I told you. Now this Citrus Strip is fairly simple to apply. Just pour it on, take a brush, and spread it all around. You want to be pretty liberal with it. It doesn't really hurt it if there's a lot of extra laying around. And then after you do that, you're just going to, I like to just take a paint scraper and come along behind, maybe 20-30 minutes afterward, and then scrape it up. Now, as you're doing this, it's going to kind of have a bunch of junk and stuff in there, so scrape that into something, typically like a cardboard box. It will eat through a trash bag, though, just so you know. Then afterward, take some mineral spirits and go over it, and this just kind of helps to clean that up. And then you're going to put on a second or even a third coat of this sometimes. You're going to have to kind of do this several different times, and then just basically just kind of rinse and repeat, though. Full disclosure, I didn't actually spend the entire day working on this thing. I've been doing several other projects while I'm trying to kind of intermix this into it. And we're running out of daylight for one, but also one of the problems that I'm running into here is that it's actually, when I put this Citrus Strip on, it really soaked down into the wood. And it just, like even with the mineral spirits, it hasn't all dried yet. And I've tried to get it to dry. It's honestly been setting for about an hour. Anywhere that it's dry, it's fine when I sand it, but anywhere that it kind of looks wet, it just instantly gums up my sandpaper. So I'm just going to let this set, I think, now overnight and check back with it tomorrow and see how it looks. Today this thing is nice and dry, so we're going to run through it with a 60 grit, 80 grit, 120 grit, probably 180 or 220. Also, I don't know if you can tell or not, but my neighbors are mowing. But that's actually a good thing because they can be mowing while I'm sanding this thing, and then by the time I get done sanding, hopefully they'll be done mowing, and then everybody wins. When it comes to sanding, be sure and go through the grits correctly. I had to go all the way to a 60 grit to break some of this stuff loose, so then I ended up going back to an 80, a 120, 180, 220. It's kind of a slow process. Then Then I blew it off with an air hose, kind of got rid of the dust, and then I used some clear CA glue to go over some of these knot holes and imperfections. I didn't do this before, and I always wondered if this kind of contributed to some of the breakdown of the finish this last time. I don't know how this will work with outdoor stuff. I have done it with indoor stuff, and it looks great and works great. So it'll be interesting to see how long this actually lasts. Then just take your accelerator and hit it, and honestly it takes about 10 seconds and you can sand this. So, and it kind of gives it kind of almost like an epoxy kind of look or feel over the top of it. After that, I took mineral spirits and just went over the whole thing. This helps you to actually be able to see kind of what it's going to look like when you apply your finish. It kind of gives you an idea of that, but also it helps you to see if you've got any imperfections or sanding swirls in the wood. After that, you'll grab a tack cloth and go over the whole thing to get rid of any dust, and then start the finish process. Be sure and use a good brush. This is a Purdy brand from Lowe's. It's about 14 or 15 bucks. Use long, smooth strokes. That's the name of the game here. So one of the things that I forgot to mention was exactly what we're using on this bar top. We have chosen to go with Helmsman Spar urethane and a clear gloss. That's what we used before, and honestly we liked the look of it. We liked the way that it worked. You know, obviously it's like anything else, it'd be great if it lasts longer, but honestly overall we liked the look of this. I'm curious though if you guys have refinished outdoor stuff. Some of the things that you guys have used, I'd love to just hear some suggestions for, because I'm sure a few more years we're going to have to refinish this again. Also too, this is coat number 2 that we've done so far. So we know for sure we're probably going to do at least 3 coats on this, and it is turning out really, really well. Between these coats, make sure that you do take a little bit of sandpaper, go over it with some sandpaper, and lightly sand it. I usually go with at least a 400 grit sandpaper. So because of the fact that we only put 2 coats on a couple of years ago, we've decided to add a couple more coats and see if we can extend the life of this anymore. So we're going to do 4 coats. Now we've done 3 so far. It's pretty glossy right now, and typically we don't like super glossy, but for what it is, I think that maybe this is what's going to be necessary for this particular thing. So fixing to add this last coat, and then we're going to see how it turns out.